Space is just that, right? We always risk it. We go for it, right? That's kind of, he says, like, why would you do that? It's this explosive, this rocket full of explosive that we're putting there. It's like, well, we want to go to space. Yeah,
Here we go. We're going to start. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new experiment we're calling Consider the Cosmos. My name is Ryan Sherlinsky.
And I am Mary Liz Bender. We're here on the Space Coast, just a couple of miles away from the launch pads of Cape Canaveral, Florida. We're on the ground documenting this new space era, and we're going to give you a unique view of what's happening here.
You're here with us today on the ground floor, and we want you to be part of the conversation. So share your comments and ideas at our website, cosmicperspective.com/podcast, or send us a tweet at Consider Cosmos. If you enjoy the conversation, consider 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to our email list, or support us on Patreon.
In this episode, we're really thrilled to share some really wonderful conversations we had with leading scientists from the European Space Agency and NASA, who both worked in strong collaboration on the Solar Orbiter mission.
On Sunday, February 9th, we watched the Solar Orbiter spacecraft take to the sky on a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket.
And it was an absolutely stunning display.
Thousands of people came from all over Europe to watch this launch with us.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? We get to be here all the time for all these launches, but this felt especially important.
And so here we go. T-minus 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And liftoff of our solar orbiter and international collaboration to give us new images and a better understanding of our life-giving star.
The Solar Orbiter is now on its way to give us the first ever view of the sun at its poles.
So we've never imaged the poles of the sun, and we've never acquired detailed magnetic field observations of the poles directly. And the sun's magnetic activity drives space weather, so these observations are going to be a total game changer for predicting solar activity. And this kind of activity can have a profound impact on our astronauts, our spacecraft, and our Earth-based technology.
Part of our launch coverage involves placing cameras at the launch pad. So that was Sunday morning. And then a little bit later in the day, we headed to a press event hosted by the European Space Agency.
I love talking to the humans that make these missions possible. So I was very honored to talk to Guenther Hasinger, the Director of Science at the European Space Agency. This is really exciting. I think I just saw on Twitter a report that we are 95% go.
Yes, I think what we have heard now is the spacecraft is powered up. That means that the launch sequence is already rolling. I think there's one last thing that has to be done. Balloons have to be launched to the atmosphere to measure the winds and the pressure and so on. But it all looks good. There's almost no cloud on the sky, so we are really good to go.
And I feel like I can feel the excitement. Everybody seems really happy. Yes. Are you super excited for tonight?
Yes, I mean when you see the energy, this is around here with thousands of people. I mean, coming for the launch, but also the teams working here, hundreds in the launcher business, and about another 100 or so from the spacecraft. And some of them have worked for more than 10 years on that mission, and the campaign was 3 months, and now it's all coming to a culmination. You really feel the energy in the air.
Yeah, I really do. I was saying it yesterday. I talked to Nicki Fox, who I've talked to before. I love Nicky. But in the room, in the NASA press briefing room, which can kind of get dry sometimes, it was really exciting when the scientists came inside.
Yes, indeed. I think we had also a very nice briefing there where it was not just for the press, it was also for ourselves. We were looking at things from different perspective, and I had the feeling it was almost like a tennis match where the balls were flying back and forward.
Yes. So is it often that you all are able to get together in one room, or is it extremely rare? And was this kind of like a reunion?
This is an international partnership mission, and the partnership between NASA and ESA is extremely important. We have regular tag-ups, regular meetings where either Thomas Zurbuchen with his team comes to Europe, or I come with my team to the US, so that is happening regularly. We also sometimes meet in international congresses and things like that. But the launch event is something really very special.
Well, I guess, for many of you, it's a very busy time, but perhaps for you tonight, when you're standing there viewing this launch together, I'm guessing this is a really rare moment where you get to relax and just kind of rejoice in what you've done together.
Yes. And this is a very strong bonding for us too, right? You are really getting to know people. You know, the most exciting moment that I have always found, I haven't been at many launches, but I have been here at Cape Canaveral at one quite a long time ago. You get the fireball, yes, but then at some point the sound is coming, and it is not really a sound. The whole atmosphere is shaking, so you feel it in your chest, you feel it in your heart, and that is for me the moment when I really realize throughout my whole body that the thing is up there now.
So I have been chasing rocket launches since the first I saw 2 years ago only. And I've got microphones out on the pad. I'm desperately trying to capture that feeling, but you can't capture that feeling. You have to be there, don't you?
I think it's a little bit similar to, when you talk to somebody on the video screen, that's fine. But you have to be close to a person to really feel this sense, the aura, you smell it. And in this particular case, you really feel the atmosphere shaking. That is nothing that you can ever ban on video.
What are you most excited about for this mission?
So for Solar Orbiter, I think it is almost a Christmas tree with the 10 instruments hanging there like glittering ornaments. I see it also a little bit like an orchestra, right? You have an orchestra where every instrument has its own tune, but together they play the music, and that is something which is unique about Solar Orbiter, that we can both look and feel and smell the surrounding, and we get a comprehensive picture. But I also would like to say that we are very happy to cooperate with Parker Solar Probe, which is coming even closer to the sun, but doesn't have eyes to see, only sensing, feeling. And then also the big new ground-based telescope in Hawaii, Daniel K. Inouye Solar Telescope, that has just opened its eyes. And the three together, they are really basically complementing the orchestra.
I love the way you say that. I'm a musician. So when you said that in the press briefing the other day, I thought, is he a musician? Because that's a really beautiful...
Yes.
What are you playing?
I was actually, when I was young, coming out of school, I was playing in a rock band. I was playing bass guitar and flute, traversal flute. And we even have a record, not a rocket, but a record.
What is the name of your band?
The name of the band is called Saffran, Saffran. It is nice music that you can actually still find on the internet.
So naturally,
we have to look for his music on the internet. And I was blown away.
Now coming back to Solar Orbiter, I believe this suite of instruments that can do 10 things at the same time, it's a multitasking genius, will tell us things that we have never even thought to ask. So the magnetic field of the sun is really a very secret element. It's a kind of dark force that we don't yet understand. There are theories, but these theories need measurements to really be proven. And we can look at the sun with angles and with tools that we had never before. And so the sun is also a star, and then we can learn about other stars. I believe that it has the potential to become a similar powerful mission as Gaia, for instance. Yeah. And the humans are quite susceptible to images. Like for instance, when we saw the first picture of the black hole shadow, that really clicked, and this picture was viewed 4 billion times. So every second human on Earth knows about that picture. We have done similarly exciting work with black holes before. Like for instance, the elliptical stars, the stars in elliptical orbits around our galactic center, and all kinds of fascinating, real basic physics that has recently been measured around the galactic center. But it is just not catching the imagination of the people. And so the pictures that solar orbiter will produce from the sun will really be mind-boggling, I believe.
Oh, I am so excited about this mission. I really am. So tell me, who are you going to be watching this launch with, and where will you be watching from?
I will be on the Cape, on the base. I will be there with a group of VIPs. Thomas Zurbuchen will be there, and some of my folks and his folks, Nicki Fox, and so we will all shout out for Solar Orbiter. And then I think when it's time, we'll all go out on the balcony and we will see it from there, which is one of the most beautiful viewing spots because it's only about 3 miles from the launch site. So, but a night launch as such is already so amazing because this extremely bright light that all of a sudden appears out of nothing.
I was just talking to Nicky about the magic of night launches, and I always explain it like this. It's like watching the sun rise in the middle of the night.
Indeed. It's getting so bright, but it's rising faster than the sun.
Way too fast. It's kind of like seeing a total solar eclipse.
Yes,
almost.
Yes, indeed. No, indeed. That's and together with the sound, I think, as we talked before, together with the whole atmosphere shaking and this sound, this is fascinating.
Have you watched from that location before?
No. I actually watched the Swift launch for about Swift, the NASA spacecraft, 15 years ago. And I watched it from the beach. I think there are so many locations that are exciting to watch from here. It's really very good.
This is such a special place. I always try to tell people how special it is here. I asked because since you love the sound so much, and as a musician you probably have the ear for it, the sound will reverberate off of the VAB, and you're going to get a really interesting,
I've never heard that. Yeah, that would be beautiful. Yeah. Indeed, so you get a double echo in a sense. Yeah.
I have bad ears, so I don't hear it as well, but everybody picks up on it. I'm going to be on the press site just down in front of you probably with a huge telescope. We're going to be tracking the rocket, so if you see us down there, wave.
And I will actually come down to the press office after the launch. We will talk, and then we will also have a small reception that is... We'll have a glass of champagne, so let's...
I would really love to, just for 30 seconds, get your post-launch excited statement.
Yeah, I would be happy to do that, yeah. But
Thank you.
We, ESA, have to celebrate when the satellite is in healthy condition. So our excitement will be measured until the solar panels are open, which is a little bit later than I think it's even after the official end of the transmission. But we will still hang on and wait a little bit longer, and then we do our final statement.
So that conversation with Guenther actually lasted at least 40 more minutes, where we talked about everything from primordial black holes to Kip Thorne, Stephen Hawking, microlensing. Mm-hmm. It was one of my favorite discussions I've ever had. So I'd like to release that in the future as another podcast episode by itself. Meanwhile, let's talk about Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen.
Dr. Thomas is the Associate Administrator for the Science Directorate at NASA. He's one of my favorite people. He's always full of such inspiration. And he actually had a personal stake in this mission going back almost 10 years. His team also designed one of the instruments that's on the solar orbiter, and we caught up with him just a couple hours before launch.
So far, every single technical gate we've passed successfully. We're basically all green, and the weather, we're looking really good as well. And we'll see how it goes. I feel, as always, kind of the right mix of excitement, because it's, that's the day you punch a hole into the sky, and take something that is a Earth-based investigation and then put it to its destiny, which is to be in space and give us eyes that we've never seen before. At the same time, I'm also apprehensive, right? Because I always have 2 speeches in my pocket. And so for me, of course, my full expectation is this will go exactly the way we want it to. We did all the details every detail, no stone is unturned. We're ready to go.
Now, I know that you have a personal stake in this mission. Can you talk about the instrument that you had something to do with?
Yeah, I was there at the very beginning. It's really unusual. There's the only mission in the entire portfolio with the 100 plus missions at NASA that I'm responsible for, where I was there at the very beginning. I helped design the entire mission concept and one sensor that I actually proposed and won. And guess what? Two of my former PhD students are responsible for it now, and they're going to run the science. It's the heavy ion sensor, and it's really there to measure compositional patterns in the plasma that's floating by solar orbiter. Of course, the excitement is to look at those data and then compare it with remote sensing measurements from the sun and really make sure that the connections that the models predict are in fact there. Yes, it's the same composition here as it is there, because remember, all the UV stuff that we're seeing because iron emits or oxygen emits. So it's those trace gases we're measuring out there.
So exciting. 'Cause, I get excited at every single rocket launch, especially when I get to talk to the people that have had a hand in the mission. But I can't imagine having such a stake in something and being so nervous and so excited as it lights up the night sky.
Yes, it really is exciting. And part of space is just that, right? We always risk it. We go for it, right? It's kind of, he says, like, why would you do that? It's this explosive, this rocket full of explosive that we're putting there. It's like, well, we want to go to space. Yeah, we're explorers, right? And we have this solar explorer that's out there ready to go for decades. Dreams and aspirations of thousands of people in there, and the good work that many people did across both sides of the Atlantic.
Yeah, that's something that I've really enjoyed during these particular briefings is the international collaboration. There's just a united spirit that I don't see super often, and it's been really uplifting. And I'd love for you to talk about it. Like, how do you all work with the European Space Agency, their member states, and everybody at NASA to come up with these kinds of things?
We consider our European partners as the most trusted and most reliable partners that we've worked with for many, many years and decades, in fact. I consider my counterparts in Europe as personal friends. We spend a lot of time together. They're on my speed dial. If there's something they need to know at my level, I will talk to them. When we delayed the launch, I let them know before the official thing came out, just to, it's like, look, this is what's happening. That's why it's good for your mission. For us to delay, and of course we don't like to ever delay, but in this case it's the right thing to do. But the reason we partner is because we make a better team than we could if we were by ourselves, and I just really believe that's what happens when you put people who are different, organizations that are different together and say, let's do this one amazing thing. First of all, it's a little bit slower to get started because we all need to get to know each other, our cultural values. We need to know what we mean when we say something, kind of get to trust. Trust is not just given, it's earned, right? So we have to earn that trust. But what we can do once we're there, we can do things that are just incredible. It's much better than anything we can do by ourselves. That's why we do it.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not just the people in this mission, but it's also all the other missions that are collaborating with this mission, like the Parker Solar Probe, the Voyager spacecraft, that are giving us this holistic view. So I guess you would say it's even more vast than just this mission.
Yeah, the way I think about it is that the science community is really one community. And we don't really look at where people come from. It's kind of any idea counts, any question is okay. And we struggle through it to learn more. And yes, as we look at all these missions, looking at the sun and its environment together, it's a very vast collection of individuals and passions and excitements from many different countries, including Japan, including Korea, including, of course, the Europeans and many others, the Russians, Indians, and so forth, that come together and do this, are part of this very exciting exploration experiment that we're part of together. Exploration is something we do together, and exploration is all about hope. If we felt that we're down here and that is the end of it, we would not explore. Exploration is to reach beyond that and anticipating things that we sometimes don't even know why it's going to be important. The first people who started pushing data back and forth, the first people who, on what is now the internet, the first people who imaged the Earth did not predict that it would save thousands and tens of thousands of people because of the weather forecasts that are reliable as a result of these very valuable information that we're sending down from our space assets. So we don't know yet what the most important benefits are for Solar Orbiter, but we've learned from history that there will always, as in always, be benefits that by far exceed the investment we make.
You've been talking a lot about how this is going to impact our knowledge for our astronauts as we move further out to the moon, to Mars. What do you see as the future of exploration? What would you like to see during your time?
The most important part of human exploration is the same as science exploration, which is to be ambitious explorers. It's good that we have stayed in the space station. We learned how to work together as an international community in the space station. We should be proud of it. That's truly historic achievement. But we're explorers. We need to go beyond that. And so for us, going forward to the moon, both with a gateway, but also the surface, with not alone as an organization. We're not trying to redo Apollo. Not interested in that. We're doing it as part of a community that we helped build. Is a totally different story today, and that story will not only go to the moon, it will go beyond, it will go to Mars. And so for us, it's really about pushing the envelope. It's about transcending what's possible and kind of inventing what's new. And for me, that is the same kind of paradigms that drive human exploration as the scientific exploration. It's going to be very useful. And I can't tell you exactly what the most useful thing will be, because almost certainly it has not been found yet.
Wow. This is why he's your favorite person.
It is.
Jeez. You don't hear people talk like this.
He's my favorite person.
He's really good. It's so inspiring. I'm so glad that he is leading the science directorate at NASA. It's amazing. Talking about unifying and transcending what's possible, because that's what this is actually all about.
He has a beautiful ability to convey such a sense of meaning behind what we're doing, and it's always so clear and so inspiring.
What he said about the Artemis program, that they're not interested in redoing Apollo,
Right.
I have never heard anyone say that.
Right.
It really hit me in the chest.
It's so much bigger. It's so much broader. It's a new generation.
So I got to talk to someone else that has a personal stake in this mission. Nicki Fox is the director of Heliophysics at NASA. And we've actually talked before during the launch of the Parker Solar Probe in 2018.
I was extremely excited the last time we talked because I just watched the Delta IV Heavy lift off the pad, and I was I think you actually introduced me as a very excited Nicki Fox, and I was indeed. I was over the sun with excitement with the Parker Solar Probe launch, and equally as excited now to see Solar Orbiter go on Sunday. I describe myself as a launch junkie. This is the most exciting thing for me. I think I got the bug very early. I worked on the Van Allen probes, and I was very blessed to work with the team very closely and see all that last minute preparation. Obviously with Parker, I was down here for the last 6 weeks working with the team, and so I know what they're going through. So even though I haven't had the opportunity to be in the clean room with Solar Orbiter, I know the excitement that this team is feeling. And so yes, we cannot wait to see that rocket lift off the pad. It's quite nice, actually, when you see one that you aren't intimately involved in, and you can just really, really enjoy the launch and enjoy the spectacle. But I think, we're all sort of heart in your mouth as you're watching that lift off. But there's nothing better, and a nighttime launch is particularly spectacular.
Yes, I always say that watching a night launch is like watching a sunrise in the middle of the night.
It really is, and you see the spectacle of it, then you hear and then you feel the pressure. Man, the sight of that thing going during the night is just amazing.
Can you tell me about your involvement with this particular mission? I know you answered a lot of questions today about Parker Solar Probe. Really great data coming back from that right now.
Well, so I started working with Solar Orbiter a number of years ago when I was still a Parker Solar Probe project scientist, and I worked very, very closely with Daniel Mueller, and we really wanted to collaborate, and we wanted to get these missions working together because they are so much better as a team. And so I've had a long involvement with the Solar Orbiter team, but since I moved down to NASA headquarters, I'm sort of in charge of making sure that everything is perfect for launch on Sunday. And so I've worked extremely closely with our counterparts at ESA, with our folks here at NASA's Launch Service Program, with ULA, and just making sure everything is ready to go. NASA has a couple of instruments that are flying on Solar Orbiter, but it's more than just those instruments. It's really that team of 10 instruments working together. And so the team here, all of the stakeholders, all of the partners, just all pulling in the same direction for launch on Sunday. We can't wait for it, but everything needs to be perfect. And so, we wait a long time. We put years and years into these missions. Daniel said he's working on this missions for 13 years. Parker Solar Probe, I'd worked on it for 8 when it launched. You've put a lot of work into it. And it's not like we have another mission just sitting there that if something goes wrong here, we can launch it. This is our one shot at doing this. And so, yes, we're all nervous, but it's really just pure excitement. We can't wait to see Solar Orbiter join Parker Solar Probe. They're sister missions. We've always thought of them like that, and we can't wait for them to get up there and start working together. But as always, it's a great time to be a heliophysicist.
It's Sunday night. We're all gathered at the NASA press site getting ready for liftoff.
And we were carrying a very heavy telescope.
Right. So we want to get the closest view possible of liftoff. Mm-hmm. So we had the chance to bring a big telescope with us to the NASA press site. This is a Meade Lx 200 scope. We work with Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, and OPT telescopes to set all this up. And basically with the camera that we attached to the back, a 4K slow motion camera, the equivalent field of view is like having a 5,000 millimeter zoom lens.
Crazy.
So it's super tight on the rocket. Basically, with the screens we bring out, so we have one screen attached to the camera on the telescope. It gives us a really tight view. Basically, we can just see the top of the rocket, so the payload fairing. And at liftoff, things move so quickly, it's so difficult to track. We need a wider view. So we have a second camera attached to the top of the telescope. That has its own screen. And we're basically looking at that wider view, back and forth between the tight view, wider view, to have any chance of following this. We have a laptop out there with us that's interpreting the joystick commands. That was all programmed by Scott Ferguson at Astronomy Live. We have behind-the-scenes cameras recording what we're doing. There's a pocket 4K camera behind us, focused in on the pad, but with us in the view. So we have all this stuff that it takes a while to set up, but once we set it up, then we don't touch it because there's so much excitement as the countdown clock nears 0 that we just want to be ready to go. So that last moment we hit record on everything and then wait. So as with any launch, we're also recording audio of the liftoff. So listen closely to this audio. A few moments after liftoff, you're going to begin to hear this higher pitched kind of echoey screeching noise. And what that is the rumble from the Atlas V in the sound is echoing and vibrating the panels on the vehicle assembly building, which is probably maybe half a mile away from us at that point. So the launch happened, and a night launch is spectacularly beautiful. It's dark. We're counting down together, and then all of a sudden there's this gradual sunrise on the horizon, and then it becomes so bright. It's almost brighter than the sun. Can't look at it. The sound, everything is perfectly quiet for a few moments as the sound travels to reach us. And then all of a sudden we begin to feel the rumble as you heard. So we were able to track it with a telescope. We got some great engine footage. And I think one of the most spectacular things is seeing the engines in the sky just before booster engine cutoff.
Yeah, that's a stunning display.
Right. It's sort of this nebula-like starburst pattern in the sky. It's bright. It's partially illuminated by the moon. We got to see a little bit of the exhaust trail. And then just at the moment of booster engine cutoff, there's this pause. It turns into a tiny star. And then there's one more burst of nebula-like light.
It was so beautiful to see that on the screen because that's not something you can see very well with your own eyes. Right. But to see it on our monitor, I was flipping out. You can see that footage on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Cosmic Perspective, or on Twitter @ConsiderCosmos. So we packed our stuff up, we headed back to the press site, and ran into Dr. T.
Hey,
how are you feeling? You excited?
I'm doing great.
For us, this was a moment of rejoicing, but sometimes we forget that the people that are involved with the mission, it's not over yet for them. There's this euphoric moment of anticipation as they wait to get the signal back from their spacecraft, because they still don't know if everything is healthy, if it survived the trip. So it will be an hour before we hear back from the spacecraft that these solar arrays have deployed and everything checks out and looks healthy. The press site was especially festive because so many people traveled from Europe to be here. Members of the European press were so excited to have seen that launch and to get the chance to talk to the leads of their agency.
Right.
It was really exciting for me to see. So I got to talk to Anne Pacros, who is the payload manager of the Solar Orbiter spacecraft, and she really took us inside what it's like to work at the European Space Agency, especially at a managerial level of a big mission like this, because she had to work with people from many different countries who spoke many different languages, and it was really intriguing to hear how that all works. Not to mention, it was the first time that she got to see her own spacecraft launch to space.
Very exciting because it's the first time for me that I'm attending a launch that is carrying a spacecraft I've worked on. So it makes things very concrete. Now I've seen the spacecraft like a meter away from me in the clean room, and now it's out there, it's on its way to the sun. That makes a connection, no matter how many space movies you've seen, you don't have that connection. So now I have this connection.
Yeah, it's funny. We're really close to Disney World, and everybody always tells me how magical it is. And I'm like, you have to go to the place where magic turns into reality.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's so far away, and now we've just seen the beginning of this long journey that will take years to get to the first orbit, and then many orbits beyond that. So, yeah, it's just beyond.
So now you're waiting. You're not quite relieved yet. You're still waiting.
Exactly, because after the separation from the launcher mission is finished. The job is done, but the spacecraft has to deploy its solar arrays. It has to acquire power. It has to acquire the signal with the Earth. Without that, there's not much we can do. So we really wait for a few more minutes, and we hope to have this connection.
How long have you been working on this mission?
So myself, I started about 8 years ago, at the time when everything was just paper studies. We were just finishing the preliminary design of the instruments. My responsibility is the instruments, so we were doing these reviews of the design. And only then we started building some prototypes, and then another model, and then finally the flight models, which we integrated on the spacecraft a year and a half ago. So I saw these different phases, and now it's like the conclusion of it all.
So what will your role be once the data starts coming back?
So actually, as a member of the project team, our job is basically ramping down from now on. We do stay involved until about June this year, because we're going to check out all the instruments. We do the commissioning. It's called commissioning because we try one by one the instruments, make sure everything is working as expected. When this is finished and successful, then we hand over to our operations colleagues who are going to take care of our baby for the rest of the mission.
What a weird feeling, like baby's going off to college.
Exactly. Yeah, the baby's left the house.
Oh man, that's crazy. This has got to be a really emotional day for you.
It is. So when I was talking about roller coaster of emotions earlier, it's really, so we're so happy that we've come to that point. At the same time, it's the end of something. So there's a bit of sadness also.
So what was it like to be in the room with everybody? I think many people probably had never seen a rocket launch before, right?
No, exactly. So there were also non-technical people. There were people who were just here, and it was so nice to explain to them, look, this is why we do this is what the instruments do, and this is how we built it. So it was, I think very informative for them also to be there. There's always an applied side of things, and with Solar Orbiter and this connection between the observations and the in situ measurements, we hope to make better models to predict the so-called space weather. So a bit like we have predictions for weather on Earth, we hope to predict better these ejections that the sun is doing, these solar flares, and how they can affect us on Earth. But there's a second component to the mission. Like any science mission, you don't know what you're going to find. And understanding the sun is also understanding a star. The sun is a star, and by understanding it, we will know more about all the other stars in the universe. So there's a more fundamental aspect to it as well.
What will you be working on next? Do you know yet?
Yes, I'm going to carry on working for the ESA science missions. We have very exciting missions coming up, and especially there will be a large mission called Athena. It's an X-ray mission that is a really huge telescope. So that's what I'm going to do next.
And that'll be a spacecraft.
It will be a huge spacecraft, yes. It will be the state-of-the-art in terms of X-ray observations.
Wow. And so you are just probably so excited to learn that your instruments, which I imagine you had to probably really engineer something very new that never existed before on this spacecraft, right?
Exactly, and having 10 instruments and they're all different, it was really a whole lot of different technologies we had to think about. And the instruments on this mission are actually developed and designed in the member states of ESA, so in the very many countries of ESA. And so it was a lot of traveling around and not only making sure that the technology works, but also that the interfaces work. You have many components made in different places. You want to make sure when you put them together, everything works together. So there was a lot of that involved in getting everything to work together.
I can't even imagine getting the US to understand the metric system, vice versa, exactly. But I know in the science world it's a bit different, right?
Yeah. Well, we're lucky in Europe, at least we use all the same system, so that part was okay. But still, there are cultural differences. You know, we talk about technology, but a lot of the work we do in projects is also with working with people of different cultures. And we try, English is not our mother tongue for many of us. So there can be misunderstandings. We have to be really careful, really check things twice, and make sure things are understood across the borders.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I used to live in Spain for 3.5 years, so I was immersed in another culture that wasn't my own, and it was really hard for a while to even understand what someone was saying, but yeah, it just takes time.
It's such an opening then, you get a different view of the world. And I guess the European Space Agency, with all its member states, it's like our daily life. Yeah, thanks. We'll keep watching for another 20 minutes, I think. We're almost there.
Awesome.
Nicky and I had one last moment.
Nicky.
Yes.
Can I talk to you?
Yes, you can.
Awesome. How are you?
I am very good, thank you, once again over the sun. We've waited a long time for this mission, and so there was a lot of relief, but there was a lot of excitement, and there's also, it went at the very beginning of the window, and so there was none of that, is it going to go? And I walked out onto the balcony, and everybody was out there, and I said, we're going. We're going. I woke up this morning, and I was like, we're going to go, and sure enough, the flame went, so it was very exciting. A lot of people, this was their first launch that they'd seen, and so it was very emotional, and lots of cheering and a few tears. We hope there'll be a great toast at about an hour and a minute after launch when they get the signal acquisition. So that means the spacecraft has separated from the center and is under its own steam essentially, and is called home. And as soon as they've got that, then that's the big sigh of relief. It's funny because you see the launch and everybody cheers and it's all great, but those of us involved with the actual mission, we don't relax for a long time yet. There's still a bit to go tonight, still a bit of excitement to go.
Just to witness the launch, to also support it in many ways. And we also just heard an eruption of applause. Take a look there.
We see them applauding in the Mission Director Center. Haven't heard what that's for yet, but again, we're assuming that's phase 2 of the solar array deployment. So there's several milestones that have to occur for that to happen. I'm hearing now from Cesar that solar arrays are confirmed deployed and they are power positive. That's the good news. So that's why they were celebrating, Daryl.
Yeah, that's right.
Very, very good thing for the mission tonight.
That's
Go
right.
Solar Orbiter.
Mission success.
Mission success.
How do you feel?
Oh, I'm so relieved. I mean, the separation was already great, but now we know the solar panels are out and we have a mission. We have seen the signal, the batteries are powering, so we are good to go.
Awesome. Congratulations. I'm so excited for you. We were thinking about you out there.
Thank you very much. No, I'm really happy. And all the hundreds and thousands of scientists all around the world are even more happy than I am.
I'm sure. And there were about 1,000 people here from ESA
Yes.
for the European Space Agency, right?
There were about 1,000 Europeans here. The Space Agency people were maybe about 100. But all of a sudden, I mean, we saw this tension in the air. Now this tension is released, and now we have to really go to work because now we have a mission.
Well, congratulations. Hey, by the way, I looked up your band.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, is it? So it was
This is a long-term mission.
It is.
In fact, it's originally planned to be a 7-year mission, but it sounds like they have engineered it so it could last even more than 10 years if everything goes according to plan. So it's going to be a while before we get any data back. It is now on a long journey to the sun. It's eventually going to get as close as 42 million kilometers
42 million kilometers
to the sun, which sounds really far, but it's actually within Mercury's orbit of the sun. So it's extremely close.
If you want to learn more about this mission and see the footage that we captured during liftoff and during the telescope tracking, you can head to our website, cosmicperspective.com/solar orbiter. We hope you enjoy this experiment. We are thrilled to be able to share what we feel is this unique view into what's happening here.
Well, I really feel like we live inside of an awe bubble, and we're experiencing magic on a daily basis. And I know we've talked about this for way too long. It's time for us to do this podcast. It's time for us to grow this awe bubble and share this magic with the world.
It is. That's right. So we hope you've enjoyed this new thing. We have a lot of interesting ideas on where to take this in the future. This is very flexible. And we'd really love to hear what you think. We'd love to hear your ideas and your comments. cosmicperspective.com/podcast.
Yeah, there you can submit your comments through text, or we'd love for you to upload a vocal submission because that's something that we'd like to incorporate in our future podcast episodes. So send us a note. Tell us what you think, what you'd like to hear, what you enjoyed. Again, cosmicperspective.com/podcast. And give us your feedback. If you enjoyed this, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. That's going to really help us reach more people.
Appease the algorithms.
Yes. You can also support our documentation work and our outreach on Patreon.
Make sure you check out our YouTube channel. That's where we post a lot of liftoff footage from remote cameras that we place at the launch pads. 4K high-speed cameras. Really love what we can see.
youtube.com/cosmic perspective.
This has been a lot of fun.
It's been really fun. I want to do it again.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.